Hola, mis amores. Welcome to today's episode of the Get Unstuck podcast with your girl, Nory. I am really excited to record this episode today because you may have noticed that I kind of took a break. I took a step back from the podcast because I really found that I needed a second for me. I needed a second to recharge and just really see what was going on with my direction. And, a big part of this podcast is that it is intuition led. It is really led by my inner spirit, my inner voice. And I had really moved away from that because I got so caught up with the things that weren't important. So over the last few weeks, I've really gotten a moment to sit down and step back and just kind of relax a little bit. Just kind of not put the pressure of the downloads and the listeners and this and that, and just kind of reevaluate what really is the most important thing about this project and why do I do it. I think a lot of times we have really good intentions for our projects and we get caught up on how many people are downloading, how many people are listening, how many people are doing this, how many people are doing that. Is it working? Is it not working? And we really move away from the original intention, the original reason why we decided to launch our project. So one thing you'll notice about this episode is that there's no fancy editing, there's no music, there's none of that stuff that there usually is included in the podcast. And the reason why that is because in this season of my life, I am being called to step away from all those things that I think are important that are not. And my personality is the type that I really like things to look good. It's really important for me to have, when things I deliver, I do, that they have a certain feel for them, that they have a certain quality to them. And I sometimes can get caught up on the perception of my quality that I don't deliver the value and the things that really matter. So all that means is that there's episodes I've been sitting on because I haven't been able to get them edited, because financially I'm not where I used to be and they are no longer that priority. So as a result, I just kind of have hold on to them. And my inner voice, which I've been really getting connected to over the past few weeks, called me out. And it was like, you're so worried about wanting things to look perfect that you're not sharing your gift, that you're not sharing the value, that you're not helping your listeners. Is that really what you want? Do you want to hold on to things because they don't look how you quote unquote they need to look? And I noticed that was my ego not wanting to release these episodes because I couldn't get them edited. I noticed that was my ego really getting caught up in the game and what it thought it was important, even though it wasn't. And I'm just being called right now to release this in this particular way. And it's a little scary for me because, full transparency, again, I obsess about things like that. I obsess about the tiny details. Is the sound okay? Are they going to think that it sounds weird? Are they going to think that it sounds this? And I realized that a lot of those decisions were being made out of fear. Fear of not being good enough for you, fear of not being good enough for myself, fear of not delivering something that I thought was perfect. And that's why I took a break. That's why I'm releasing this in this particular way. And over the next few episodes, this is how it's going to go down. So I'm excited for it, but I'm also a little, I'm a little scared, I guess. I don't know. It's just facing your reality and learning things about yourself can really put you in a position of vulnerability and honesty in a different way. So I'm really right now facing those things for me, and releasing this episode and the upcoming episodes is going to be a lot of that. So with that being said, in today's conversation, I actually want to talk about self-awareness. I actually want to talk about what it's like to get to know yourself, what it's like to face who you are, and how that can improve your life. I mean, for me, being self-aware has had a major impact in my life. And today I'm going to be sharing 10 ways that being more self-aware has improved my life. But 10 ways are just a glimpse of the growth I've been able to experience. So I'm excited for that. And I really hope that as you listen to this episode and these ways that my life has improved, something within you sparks to improve your own life by being more self-aware. Something within you says, you know what? I want to get to know me better. I want to connect with me better. I'm ready to have this relationship with me in a way that I can make these decisions that make me uncomfortable, but deep down inside, I know are the things I need to do the way I'm doing right now. And it's not always an easy, painless, kumbaya like process, but it is what life is all about. It's about living your life and doing the things that are important to you in spite of what other people might say, in spite of what you think other people think is important. It really is about you, being who you are here to be on this universe without fear. And that's a lot harder than a lot of us think. And I'm really excited to use my life as a testimony, because I think I haven't been doing that as much as I can be, because I've been too concerned about the things that aren't important. So with that being said, let's get into this episode. Let's get into the 10 ways in which being more self-aware has improved my life. Now, before I get into these 10 ways, I want to share with you my definition of self-awareness, which is a combination of things that I've learned, but also of the dictionary definition of self-awareness. Self-awareness is consciously knowing yourself, knowing your feelings, knowing why you do the things that you do, and knowing your intentions behind your actions at all times. Self-awareness means listening to your inner voice or your intuition and allowing it to guide you. Now, when I first learned what self-awareness was, I thought it was just knowing what you like and what you don't like. I didn't know that there was all these other elements to it. I thought it was like weaknesses and strengths and things like that. I did not realize that there was so much more to it. And over the past 2.5 years that I've been on this walk now, I've learned more about what self-awareness is and how it can really help us. So I'm really excited to share with you how it has improved my life and how it can also improve your life. I think a lot of us have heard people say you need to listen to your inner voice, you need to listen to your intuition, and we may have no idea what that means because no one has broken that down for us. If that's you, let me know, because that was definitely me. I was like, okay, that sounds cute. I want to listen to my intuition, but what is that? How do I access it? How do I get to it? I remember listening to Oprah talking about that, about how every major decision she has made was rooted in her intuition, in her inner voice. And now as I look back, I'm like, oh my, I know what she's talking about now. I know what the inner voice is. And a lot of us, we all have this inner voice. We just don't really tap into it because we don't know how. And it's the same voice that gut feeling that tells you don't do this, do that, or don't walk down the street, it's not safe, or you shouldn't take on this job because it's not what you want, or you should take a step back from this relationship. That is that same voice that can guide you every single day, not only when you are in these situations, but you can consciously tap into that. And that's what I've been able to do over the past few weeks. So the way this list is going to go down is broken down into 2 parts. So there is 5 things that I've been able to do less of, and then there are 5 things I've been able to do more of. So we're going to start with the 5 things that I've been able to do less of, the things that I've been able to remove from my life. Number 1, stress. How many of us are being taken in by stress, are being enslaved by stress, by the idea that there's something that overwhelms you, by the idea that there's something out there that is just keeping you from being happy, from being joyful, from just and being in this eternal state of unease. Because when we are stressed, there's just this kind of subtle uneasiness about us where we can't pinpoint what it is, but we know that it doesn't feel good. And sometimes the stress can be really overwhelming. It can even manifest in your body. It can make you sick. So to me, being more self-aware, knowing myself better, knowing my feelings better, knowing how I see things and why I do them, and being honest about my intentions with those things has helped me reduce my stress dramatically, because I am no longer worried about things that I know I can't really control. And when things come up, I can see more clearly than ever why I think of them that way, or where did I learn to think about them in that way. And then I can decide, do I want to keep it or do I want to let it go? And really being more self-aware has helped me do that, because you cannot what does JC say? You cannot heal what you don't reveal. Well, if you are not honest with yourself and you're not self-aware, then it's going to be harder for you to change the things about you that you don't like. And since being more self-aware, since being more in tune with my feelings and accepting of my feelings, I've been able to have a lot more stress. Number 2, anxiety. I think for a while I wanted to believe that I didn't really have anxiety. I wanted to believe that anxiety just kind of skipped me altogether, but I have learned that it didn't, and that there are things that bring me anxiety. There are things that trigger me in a way where I become really uneasy, and I become really kind of overwhelmed to a certain extent, and the anxiety has a way of taking over. So I've been able to reduce my levels of anxiety because I know myself better, because I know that I'm here on this universe to be me. I don't have to be anyone like anyone else. I don't have to fit the box that anyone wants me to fit. I can just do whatever it is that I want because it's my life. It's the life that I've been given, and through this life I can bring life to other things, and that has given me such a peace in my life. So I just don't have as much anxiety anymore. Full transparency, money was a place where I was having a lot of anxiety. Some of you may know this. I quit my job in DC, and when the husband and I moved to Florida, we walked away from 6 figures in our income, and now we're not there. We have not it's different for us now, and I think that was giving me some anxiety because it's kind of like, oh man, we were making all this money and now we're not. Like, what's going to happen? How are we going to pay our bills? How are we going to do that? And that can really put you in a space where you're anxious and mentally overwhelmed. And it has really been quite the journey for me over the past few weeks to just really surrender and release that anxiety that I had before. And it's not all the way there. I mean, I will be lying if I said that I feel no anxiety, but it is significantly less than I used to feel. And I'm much more, what's the term I'm looking for? I'm much more accepting of what it is right now. And I'm not really trying to fight it. So because of that, I just have significantly less anxiety than I used to have before. Another way self-awareness has helped me is by not worrying about the past. How many of us are living in the past? You are reminiscing about the good old days. I literally just talked about it right now. Me being back in DC, making those 6 figures, right? Like, a lot of us like to live in the past because the past remind us of the times that, things were different. And some of us in the past, things were quote unquote better than they are right now. So the past has a way of keeping us from experiencing the present. It has a way of keeping us from experiencing the now because it's easy to talk about the past. In the past, a lot of us can see our quote unquote mistakes. A lot of us can see our quote unquote failures, and we can spend a lot of time there kind of crying over spilled milk. And for me, since being more self-aware, I catch myself living in the past, and I don't spend as much time there because I know now that in the past, I can't change anything. The only place I can change things are in the present. And there's no reason there's no reason for me to live in the past. There's no reason for me to stress about the things that already happened because I can no longer control these things and they are done. So I've been able to be way more, I've been able to spend a lot less time in the past. And a lot of us know that the past has a way of controlling us if we allow it, whether it is making you think that, well, you failed in the past, so you're going to fail again, or you've done this in the past, which means you're going to do it again. A lot of us tend to listen to our minds about the things that have happened in the past and convince ourselves that things can be different. And I've been that person before. So now that I can spend less time there, there's something so liberating about that. Number 4 is not worrying about the future. This is something that I'm still really working through, but today I can say that I significantly worry about the future less than before. When I first moved here, I was really worried about the future. I was worried about how much money we were going to make, how we were going to pay our bills, how we were going to do all these things. And over time, I've learned that the more I get to know myself, the more I get to know who I am, I realized that that's not really what's important, because what's important is what's happening in this moment. And the future could seem like the place where you can find hope. A lot of us look to the future for hope that things will be different. But that doesn't mean that they will be different, right? And when we get caught up in the future, we lose the opportunity to be present in the now, in the moment that's happening right in front of us. And now that I'm now worried about how much money I'm going to make or all these other things, I can allow room for the season in my life. I can allow room and create space for the lessons I'm learning. I can create space for the way my marriage is growing, for the relationship I'm having with my husband in a different way, in a way that worrying about the future didn't allow me to do it before. So I'm really excited about worrying significantly less about the future. And the fifth thing that I've been able to do less of is taking things personally. How many of us are taking things personally? Whether it's someone, what is it? I don't drive, but people that drive, people that like might cut you in the lane, or people that may, try to might say something to you in the street and you might react to that, or you thinking that people are out to get you and that people really don't want to see you do well. Like, a lot of us get caught up with those feelings and take a lot of things personally. In my marriage, there's been times when I've taken things personally from JP. There have been times that he has said things to me and I had felt like, you're doing this to spite me. Now, was he doing that to spite me? No, he wasn't. But in that moment, I took it personally. And since being here, since allowing myself to get to know me better, since allowing myself to accept where I am in this season and what I'm really like, to be honest with my self-awareness, to be uncomfortably honest with my self-awareness, since I've done that, I've really gotten to a place where I don't take things personally. Even the things that I'm like, I wish he did this or whatever, I barely really have those thoughts in my mind anymore, because I know that there are things right now that I am doing that he wished they were different. And he's allowing me to be. He's creating space for me. So I am getting better at creating space for him as well. And not just him, but also other people, complete strangers. If someone bumps you in the street, sometimes, especially if you're from New York, you might be tempted to curse them out or something because you're like, get off me. And part of that's also the New York mentality. I was just talking to one of my clients about this. But at the end of the day, not taking things personally gives you a freedom, gives you this freedom to just not have an attitude, not be angry, not to give into these emotions. And that's one of the things I've been able to do through self-awareness, because I've been able to give myself more grace. And by giving myself more grace, every day I can give other people more grace as well. So that has been really, really powerful for me. So those are the 5 things I've been able to do less of. Number 1, less anxiety. Number 2, less stress. Number 3, less worrying about the past. Number 4, less worrying about the future. Number 5, less taking things personally. Now, I want to share with you what I've been able to gain from that. What have I gotten more of? Now that I have gotten less of these things in my life, what has taken over my life as a result of doing less of those things I just talked about? Number 1, I am more present. Being present means, to me, being available in the moment, being available to what life has to teach you and what you can teach others, what you are here to deliver to others. Every exchange you have with someone is an exchange of energy. It's an exchange of lessons that might help that person get to where they want to be, and that will help you get to where you want to be. And being more present has helped me see how those lessons can manifest in my life. Being more present has shown me how I wasn't present, how I was worried about the past, how I was worried about the future, and how because I was worried about the past and the future, I wasn't taking action in the present moment so that I can actually live the life I want to live. And that can be really hard for us sometimes, because we are conditioned to be worried about the past and be worried about the future. What you're going to do next, what you're going to do next, what you're going to do next, how you're going to pay this bill, how you're going to pay that bill. And it's not until you take a step back and realize that the only moment that matters is the one right now, is when things can turn around for you. And that's what I've been able to tap into. That's what I've been able to experience. Number 2, I've been able to live more. And the other way I can explain it is being able to smell the roses and connect with nature. We've heard that before, right? You have to smell the roses, make time to smell the roses. But how many of us really make the time to smell the roses? A lot of us don't even see that as a worthy use of our time. But I've been able to do that without feeling bad, without feeling guilty, without feeling like I should be doing something else, but just generally enjoy life. I've been able to understand that life is happening right now. It's not going to happen 30 years from now or 20 years from now or when people quote unquote retire. No, life is happening in this moment. Life is happening right now. And since I've understood that, I've just been able to live more. I've been able to not worry about work as much and to really focus on how am I doing? How do I feel about my life? Because life is for you first and then it's for other people. Number 3, I've increased my levels of trust. I talked a lot about on this podcast about my challenges with self-trust because I have the type of personality in the before where I really focus on other people's opinion on how I should do things. But over the past few years, particularly over the past few weeks, I've learned to trust myself by trusting the universe even more. When I make a decision, I'm no longer worried about is this the right move or the bad move. I'm just now available. I'm making a decision. I'm going to stand by my decision, and I will allow the universe to share with me if this is bringing me closer to my goal or if it's taking me further away from my goal. And that's something that I couldn't fathom before. I couldn't do that before because I would have been freaking out. I would have been panicking. And now I feel like I can trust myself in a different way. Not trust myself to know what's right with my life or what's wrong with my life, but trust myself to allow life to happen through me so that I can be who I'm here to be on this universe. Not who I think I need to be, but who I really am here to be. And that's something that has really made my life more full. It has made my days much more joyful. And I'm really grateful for that. Number 4, I have way more surrender. How many of us wish we could surrender more? How many of us wish that we were not going against the current of the universe? Because a lot of us have things that we think we need to achieve. And these things that we think we need to achieve are often in conflict with who we really are. Because there are not the things that you need to achieve for you. These are things you feel like you need to achieve for other people, whether it's your parents, your teachers, your spouse, your children. These aren't things that you want to do for you. These are things that you want to do for other people. And surrendering to the fact that things may not go your way, to the fact that things may go completely different than what you thought they were going to go, and that's really the way it needed to happen. Surrendering to the fact that perhaps you've outgrown your dreams, you have outgrown your desires, you have grown the things that you thought you wanted. That can be difficult because a lot of us think that those things are who we are. We think that who we are all these different elements of ourselves, who we marry, what school we went to, what language we speak, what race we are, what job we do. A lot of us think that that's who we are and pull our identity from that. So it can be really hard to surrender to the fact that some of the times that these things are not really the real deal. And being able to do that has made my life a lot easier because I am no longer interested in going against the current of life. I am interested in going with it. Imagine if you were swimming and you were trying to go against the current. You would be in for a really, really hard workout, to say the least. Because going against the current is not easy and it takes a lot of work. But if you are going with the current, you won't have to work as hard. You won't have to stress yourself as hard. And you actually have an easier time, a more enjoyable ride. And that's where I am in my life right now. Which brings me to number 5. I feel like I've gotten to the point now where I can experience joy, a different type of joy. The joy that doesn't come from material possessions, the joy that doesn't come from having more, the joy that actually comes from having less, the joy that comes from me. I experience joy from me, which is different because I'm used to experiencing joy with things that are external, whether they have to do with my husband, my family, the work that I do. But now I've entered a space where I bring myself joy. I am my own home. Home is my own body. And that's something that's new to me. And it's something that I really enjoy because it means that I can feel that joy at any moment. I don't need a special circumstance to feel it. I can feel it right now. And a lot of that came, pretty much all of that came from being self aware. It came from realizing who I thought I needed to be, from being honest about the things I did not want to be, and accepting that that shift was going to make things a little bit different for me, and being available to how different that was going to be. And self-awareness has a power to help you tap into that and get to know yourself in a way that you can be free of the expectations of society. And what a freedom it is to not let society dictate how you feel about you, to not let your parents dictate how you feel about you, to not let your expectations of life dictate how you feel about you. And that's what I've been able to tap into. So again, the 5 things I've been able to get more of out of this process, out of getting to know myself, has been being more present, being more alive, having more self-trust, being able to surrender more, and experiencing joy from within, joy from me. I give myself joy. My joy doesn't depend on someone else or on something else. It depends on me. I could give it to myself. And that gives me so much freedom and peace of mind, knowing that I don't need to look for it anywhere else, that is already within me. So I wanted to do this episode to share that with you. I will continue to release the other episodes I've had in the can now that I have not released. And I am excited for us to have this season of raw energy between the two of us, where I've taken away all the things that I thought were important so that we can focus on the things that really matter. And that is you. That is how to get to know you better so that you can live the life that you want, so that you can stop worrying about the things that are not important, and you can create space for the person that you are here to be. Because at the end of the day, we are all energy. We are all sources of life. And the bodies that we have is just a shell for who you really are. So what you do, who you marry, where you come from, what race you are, what gender you are, none of those things are who you are. Who you are is light. And just like me, my wish for you is that your light will get a little bit brighter, and it will shine a little bit brighter after every single episode of the podcast. With that being said, check me out on Instagram at Nory Pouncil, NORYPOUNCIL, and I look forward to our next conversation. Hasta luego.